Sabhaye Namaha. Today I am going to discuss with you about the philosophy of moksham. Let us start with prayer. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamshachanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Moksha is also called Vimochana, emancipation, enlightenment, liberation and release. Moksha is an eternal concept of the utmost aim to be attained through three parts of human life, that is called dharma. Dharma means virtuous, proper, moral, etc. Artha, material prosperity, income, etc. And kama, pleasure, sensuality, emotional fulfillment. Together these four concepts are called Purusharthas in Hinduism. In some scholars of Indian religions, moksha is considered equivalent to and used interchangeably with other terms such as vimoksha, vimukti, kaivalya, apavarga, mukti, nishreyasa and nirvana. However, terms such as moksha and nirvana differ and mean different states between various schools of Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism. The term nirvana is more common in Buddhism, while moksha is more common in Hinduism. Sources of moksha. Moksha is derived from the root of much, which means free or let go or release and liberate. In Vedas and early Upanishads, the word muchyate appears, which means to be set free from or release, or such as of a horse from its harness. Definition of moksha, let us see. The definition of moksha varies between various schools of Indian regions. Moksha means freedom, liberation from pre-birth or samsara. This liberation can be attained while one is on earth, means Jivan Mukti or Karma Mukti, Videha Mukti, or some Indian traditions have emphasized liberation on concrete ethical action within the world. This liberation is a epistemological transformation that permits one to see the truth and reality behind fog of ignorance. Moksha has been defined not merely as absence of suffering and release from bondage of samsara. Various schools of Hinduism also explain the concept of as preference of the state of Paripurna Brahmanubhava, a state of knowledge, peace and bliss. For example, in Viveka Chudamani, an ancient book of moksha explains one of many meditative steps on the path of moksha as Jati Niti Kula Gotra Duragam Nama Rupa Guna Dosha Varjitam Desha Kala Vishayati Vartiyat Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani. Beyond caste, creed, family or lineage, that which is without name and form, beyond merit and demerit, that which is beyond space, time and sense objects. You are that God Himself. Meditate this within yourself. Moksha karana samagriyam bhaktirev gariyasi swasvanurupa sandhanam Bhaktiritya vidiyate. Bhakti is the foremost source of attaining moksha. The final purpose called Nishreyasa, greatest good, than which is there is no greater good. Dharma mulortha ityuktaha kamordhapalamuchyate मूलमेतत्त्रिवर्गस्य nivrittir-moksha uchyate. The trade of dharma, artha, kama is known as trivarga. Moksha has one triad, that of sattva, rajas and tamas. Chaturtha moksha ityeva prutakarda prutagunaha मोक्षस्यास्त्रि त्रिवर्गोऽन्या प्रोक्तं सत्त्वरजस्तमाः. The way of explaining this trait of moksha is that the tamas aspect of its bhakti, universal love, the rajas aspect, yoga ishwarya, yoga siddhi and yogic power. Jnana or prajnana and virakti or mukti, proper extinction of selfishness, freedom from all selfish desire, and that constant awareness that all life is one life, though manifesting in conflicting and mutually balancing and neutralizing opposites. Moksha is a concept associated with the samsara, birth rebirth cycle. Samsara is originated with religious movements in the first millennium BC. These movements, such as Buddhism, Jainism, and new schools within Hinduism, saw human life as a bondage to repeated process of rebirth, Punarjanma. This bondage to be repeated rebirth and life, each life subject to inquiry, disease and aging, was seen as a cycle of suffering. By release from this cycle, the suffering involved in this cycle also ended. This release was called moksha, nirvana, kaivalya, mukti and other terms various in Indian religious traditions. Moksha is more than liberation from a life rebirth cycle of suffering in samsara. The Vedanta school separates this into two: Jivan Mukti, liberation in this life, and Videha Mukti, liberation after death. Moksha, this life, includes the psychological liberation from adhyasa and avidya, fears besetting one's life and ignorance or anything that is not true knowledge. The concept of moksha was seen as a natural goal beyond dharma. Moksha, in the epics and ancient literature of Hinduism, is seen as achievable by the same technique necessary to practice dharma. Self-discipline is a path of dharma. Moksha is self-discipline that is so perfect that it becomes unconscious second nature. Dharma is thus a means to moksha. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yavetti buddhi sa partha sattviki. O son of Kunti, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. Performing actions in terms of directions of the scriptures is called pravritti, or executing actions that deserve to be performed, and actions which are not so directed are not to be performed. One who does not know the scriptural directions becomes entangled in the actions and reactions of work. So, understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. Scholars suggest Shankara's challenges to the concept of moksha parallels these virtues with a theocentric set in pursuit of salvation. Shankara goes on to suggest that anthropocentric virtues suffice. The Vaishnavas challenge. Vaishnavism, one of the Bhakti school of Hinduism, is devoted to the worship of God, sings His name, anoints His image or idol, and has many sub-schools. Vaishnavas suggest that dharma and moksha cannot be two different or sequential goals or states of life. In Vaishnavism, as a school of in views on dharma, artha, kama, and moksha dominated an initial impression. The aim of life is liberation, which has a different content and quality. There is another triad of sattva, goodness, raja, energy, and tamas, inertia, subordinate to moksha. Some say that dharma and artha are for welfare, others say kama and artha are for welfare. Still others declare that dharma alone leads to welfare. Others say that wealth alone leads to the welfare. But the Manu considers that all the three are the ways of welfare. As he lives in on others, he must, in common honesty, live for others. Sacrifice is a right, a thing that ought to be done, that is vowed. The concept of moksha appears much later in the ancient Indian literature than the concept of dharma. The proto-concept that first appears in the ancient Sanskrit verses and early Upanishads is muchyate, which means freed or released. It is the middle and late Upanishads such as the Shvetashvataropanishad and Maitri Upanishad, where the word moksha appears and begins becoming an important concept. Shvetashvataropanishad, another middle era Upanishad written after Kathopanishad, begins with the questions such as why is man born? What is the primal cause behind the universe? What causes joy and sorrow in one's life? This Supreme Being dwells in everything. He is nature, he is not a separate entity. Liberation comes to those who know the Supreme Being is present as a universal spirit and principle, just as they know better in present in milk. Such realization, claims Shvetashvataropanishad, come from self-knowledge and self-discipline. And the knowledge and also realization is liberation from transmigration, the final goal of Upanishad. Shastras with middle Upanishad era, moksha are equivalent terms such as mukti and kaivalya is a major theme in many Upanishads. For example, Saraswati Rahasyopanishad, one of several Upanishads of the Bhakti school of Hinduism, starts out with prayers to Goddess Saraswati. She is the Hindu goddess of knowledge, learning and creative arts. Her name is compound word of Sara and Swa, meaning the essence of self. After the prayer verses, the Upanishad inquires about the secret of freedom and moksha. Saraswati's reply in Upanishad is like this. Let us see what she said. It was through me the Creator Himself gained liberty of knowledge. I am being consciousness, bliss, eternal freedom, unsullied and unlimited and unending. This is a word said by Saraswati. Concept of moksha in Indian philosophy. The theoretical relations behind the concept of moksha is based on the basic ideas. First, God is giver of salvation to the worshipper if The worshipper obeys his commandment and surrenders. The other idea is a man of own effort attains salvation, means moksha, by his good works. It is Ramanuja's major theory. Indian thinkers maintained that could be achieved in this very life. This distinction persists in the age of the systems also. But whether here or elsewhere, the ideal of moksha is assumed in all the systems to be actually attainable. It may, or course, to be held that a goal like self-perfection is never actually reached. But it is significant only insofar as its deliberate choosing and its persistent pursuit are concerned. Broadly, there are two different approaches to the concept of liberation or moksha in Indian philosophy. One, the materialistic concept of moksha of the Charvakas, and the non-material conception, positive conception, Vedanta and Jainism. Salokya, what are they? Salokya means residing in the world of God, means Vaikuntha. Ramanujists mean the follower of Ramanuja say. Samipya, next. Blessed fellowship, what you say, in Nimbarka period, Vallabhacharya period and Chaitanya period. Sarupya, becoming like God in nature and form, means Gita says. Sayujya, becoming one with God, Advaita Vedanta say. Negative conception of Buddhism, Nirodha, cessation of suffering, Nyaya, Vaiseshika and Mimamsikas. Uchcheda, nihilism, Madhyamika Buddhism. Next, neutralistic conception, Sankhya and Yoga. But some of Buddhist texts and some Naiyayikas or Mimamsakas go so far as to prove a positivistic conception of liberalization. Evolution of moksha. The concept of moksha according to Vedanta represented one many expansions in Hindu Vedic ideas of life and also afterlife. In the Vedas, there were three stages of life: studentship, householdship and retirement. Easy to understand. Brahmacharya, Grihastha and Vanaprastha, these three stages. The Vedas suggest three goals of a man: Dharma, Artha and Kama. To these Upanishads added moksha. The ascent of moksha in some schools of Hindu philosophy was slow. These refused to recognize moksha for centuries, considering it irrelevant. This Mimamsa school denied the goal and relevance of moksha. Yogic moksha principles were accepted in many other schools of Hinduism. For example, Adi Shankara in his book of Moksha suggests Artasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha nasnanena nadanena pranayamashatena va. By reflection, reasoning and instructions of teachers, the truth is known not by ablutions, not by making donation, nor by performing hundreds of breath control exercises, mean pranayama. Bhakti moksha created the third historical path where neither rituals nor meditating self-development were the way, rather it was inspired by constant love and contemplation of God, which over time results in a perfect union with God. Some bhakti schools evolved these ideas where God became the means and the end transcending moksha. The fruit of bhakti is bhakti itself. In the history of Indian religion traditions, additional ideas and paths of moksha beyond these three appeared over time. Kaivalya, a concept of moksha, rather than nirvana, is found in some schools of Hinduism, such as the Yoga school. Kaivalya is the realization of aloofness with liberty, knowledge of one's self, and union with the spiritual universe. For example, Patanjali Yoga Sutra suggests Tasya heturavidya tat abhavat samyoga bhavo hanam tat drushyaihi kaivalyam. Patanjali Yoga Sutra. After the dissolution of avidya, means ignorance, comes removal of communion with material world. This is the path to kaivalyam. Nirvana and moksha in all traditions represent a state of being in ultimate reality and perfection, but described in a very different way. Some scholars have said that nirvana of Buddhism is same as Brahman in Hinduism. A few other scholars and he disagree with. Even action becomes a sacrifice to Ishvara, and actions no longer bind him. Thus, the law of sacrifice becomes also the law of liberation. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spruha naishkarmya siddhi paramam sanyase nadigacchati. One who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Real renunciation means that one should always think himself part and grace of the Supreme Lord, and therefore think that he has also no right to enjoy the results of his work. This is actually Krishna's consciousness. Thus, he is not attached to anything material. He becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the service of the Lord. This state of mind is called Yoga Rudha, or the perfect stage of yoga. Therefore say, Nija karma dibhacyantam kuryat prityaiva karitah upayatam parityajya nyasya devetu tamabhi. Looking upon all discipline from performance of duties to the practice of bhakti and meant only for pleasing the Lord and not with any external motive. One should abandon all dependence on any other means than the Supreme Person and remain without any fear of inadequacy of such resignation in respect of his salvation. The doctrine of Prapatti is taught in the above words. Moksha, in the fullest sense, is attained by only with fall of the present physical body, after which is released. Jiva is clothed in a body of Shuddha Sattva, with which it is able to commune with God and experience His overpoweringly art but loving presence through eternity. The six major orthodox schools of Hindu philosophy offered the following views on moksha, each of their own reasons. The Nyaya, Vaiseshika and Mimamsa schools of Hinduism consider moksha as possible only after death. Sankhya and Yoga schools consider moksha as possible in this life, but in Vedanta school, the Advaitic sub-school concludes moksha is impossible in this life. While Dvaita and Visishta Dvaita sub-schools of Vedanta tradition believe that moksha is a continuous event, one assisted by loving devotion to God that extends from this life to post-mortem. Beyond these six orthodox schools, some heterodox schools of Hindu tradition such as Charvaka, Deni, there is a soul or the life of moksha. Sankhya, Yoga and Moksha. Both Sankhya and Yoga systems of religions thought are moksha sastras. They are systems of salvific, mean redeeming liberation, and release. Sankhya is a system of interpretation, primarily a theory about the world. Yoga is both a theory and a practice. The 8 limbs of yoga can be interpreted as a way to liberation, mean moksha. In Sankhya literature, liberation is commonly referred to as Kaivalya. In the school of Kaivalya, it means the realization of pursuit and the principle of consciousness as independent from mind and body, as different from the Prakriti. Such steps are claimed by Yoga school as leading to Samadhi, a state of deep awareness, release and bliss called Kaivalya. Moksha in this life. Finally, let us come. Among the Sankhya, Yoga and Vedanta schools of Hinduism, liberation and freedom reached within one's life is referred to as Jivan Mukti, and the individual who has experienced this state called Jivan Mukti. Dozens of Upanishads, including those from Middle Upanishad period, mention or describe the state of moksha, means Jivan Mukti. According to Narada Parivrajaka Upanishad, the liberated individual shows attributes such as, number 1, he is not bothered by disrespect and endures cruel words, treats others with respect regardless of how others treat him. Another, even if he is tortured, he speaks and trusts the truth. Another, even he does not crave for her blessings or expect praise from others. Next, he is comfortable being alone as in the presence of others. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita says, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami sarvada mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all the sinful reactions. Do not fear, said by Lord Krishna in Gita. Thus, the doctrine of moksha is vividly described by our various acharyas and philosophers with detailed discussions. When we understand the essence of moksha, we can do good, act good, think good of others, our own, to attain moksha. So, my motto is, we people has to know about moksha through this philosophy of moksha. What moksha finally gives a solution means, it gives how a human life should be followed according to our ancestors' fundamental rules. When we follow strict rules strictly, then we can go in a righteous path which was directed by our ancient sages. Let us hope to follow the right path or righteous path, that means Dharma Marga, to achieve our goals through our good habits. Okay. श्रीकांताय कल्याण निधे निधे नाम श्री वेंकट निवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगलम मङ्गलासाधनप्रैर्मदाचार्यपुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यै सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम्।